Morning, guys. Jen here. I don't want to give too much away about where we're starting and where this video is going because, to be honest, my mind is kind of all over the place. Not in like a disorganized fashion, but in the type of manner that there's just that much going on right now. Um, as always, I think that's with design. The goal seems to just be to keep us distracted from honestly, I think there's like this spiritual undercurrent to everything right now. So let me get to the basics and turn the comments on. Make sure they are up and running. Hello, good morning. Wow, there's two people actually here. And I don't mean that in a like complaining or condescending way. That's cool. Good morning, guys. Let me get a sip of my Nectar of the Gods here, my OJ. Okay. So to begin, let me be real basic here. I believe in God. I love everyone. I just do. I'm that type of person. I'm not here to brag. I'm here because I believe it is my personal debt. I believe we all have one. I'm no better or, well, I don't want to say worse. I am no better than anyone else here. But this is my way of, my personal view, my personal way of making good on areas where I went astray and things that maybe I did wrong. And maybe correcting some errors where maybe I misled people unknowingly, even. And in situations and occurrences and circumstances where I was ignorantly, and by ignorant, I mean just unknowingly, lack of knowledge, I was ignorantly a part of the problem. And this whole channel, this whole journey is about coming out of darkness and no longer being a part of the problem and willingly and knowingly coming out of that darkness, coming out of ignorance and being a part of the solution, I hope. And I'm kind of excited to say that following this, there will be an upload. Again, it's not going to be super polished or anything because I do have kind of a life. I'm pretty busy. Two of my dogs are senior dogs and Sammy is only 2. So that alone, on top of just being a mom and somehow having piles of laundry just for 3 people, I have things to do. So it's not going to be super polished, but I have a video coming up about, again, from my personal perspective, just my 2 cents, my contribution to what I hope is a collective contribution. And we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about how I see an undercurrent of things occurring and it's exciting. And I want to talk about it because I think when you talk about things, things happen and the butterfly effect. So yeah, where to begin? Where do you guys want to start? Do you want to start with the butterfly effect and all things? Or do you want to start with the one thing and go to the all things? I don't know where to start. So yeah. Welcome to another day in Crazyville. My name doesn't matter. I'm crazy. You probably are too. But the world tells us everything's fine, and we're all walking around pretending like things are normal. How are you today? Yeah, little humor, my attempt at humor. Anyways, I have this pulled up because there are some things happening in the sky. Now, I believe in God, right? But I believe that there is truth in every faith system. Now, imagine, if you will, let's put our thinking caps on and put our imagination, sit down at our imagination station, if you will. And let's visualize, let's use our mind's eye and visualize, picture, if you will. Put a storybook picture in your mind. And imagine at the beginning of things, you have the good guy and the bad guy, right? And the good guy is moving right along, creating his happy little place with his happy little beings and his happy little trees and his happy little clouds and his Bob Ross type of way, and everything is good, and the clouds are good, and the trees are good, and the animals are good, and the people are good, and the people are naming the animals, and everything's going good. And then you have this other guy who wants to come along and he doesn't want it to be good. He's kind of a Salvador Dali type of guy. I mean, he's still creative in his way, but he wants to come along and, I don't want to say Salvador Dali because I actually like his art. Well, let's just say we'll call him PC. He wants to copy everything in a erroneous type of way that he thinks is better and more efficient. But really it's not. It's kind of gross and just not as good, right? So you have this guy that wants to ruin everything. What would you do if you were him? Well, if happy little tree cloud guy is making a place for his people and his beings, of course there is, in the back area, there's like a story being made, right? And so you'd want to wreck that story. And the best way to wreck the story is to separate the creations from the being. You don't want it to be good. You want them to think they are bad. So first you have to do that. You have to separate the two. You have to make the creation think it's bad, and you have to make the creator think its creation has gone bad. Okay? So once you do that and you separate the two so there's no more communication, right? And you do the same thing to the creation itself, to the wife and the husband. You make them hate each other so there's no more communication between the two, and they don't realize that there's a third aspect here causing the friction. They think it's each individual thinks it's the other one, right? When in reality, there's this extra being in the middle causing all of this friction. But you can't have them ever actually talk again or communicate effectively, because then they'll find out that there's this intruder interfering with everything, right? So what's the next thing you do? Once you have all of this estrangement, and once you have caused all of this estrangement, you have to ruin the story so that for future generations, when they try to figure out what happened, they can't do that. So you take the story and you can't totally, because it's truth. You can't ruin truth. You can only hide it or separate it, like you did the creation from its creator and the creation from one another. So you take the story and you separate it from itself. So if I'm Satan, I'm going to take that book, the main story, the whole storybook, and I'm going to shred it, right? Like the phone book. I'm going to take the A, B, and C section and tear it out. And I'm going to throw it over to Africa. And I'm going to take the C, D, E section. I'm going to throw that to Asia. And I'm going to take the F, G, H, and I section. I'm going to give that to Italy. And so on and so forth. Each section, 3 or 4 letters, is going to go to a different continent, right? You see where I'm going with this? And each culture is going to call each book, that's their religion. That's all they know of God, is what's in that book. Now, first of all, sad to say, you cannot fit Creator God in a book. You cannot fit Creator God in its own creation. It can't be done. It's just not doable. Much like you can't fit God in this creation matrix, you can't fit God into time. Time is a part of this creation. The measurement of time is a creation of the creation. Mankind created the measurement of time. Clocks, right? 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, Eastern Time, Standard Time. Mankind created that. God created the changing of the seasons and the changing of the sun and the moon. God created that. So God is outside of the creation, much like we are outside of the ant farm or the biodome that we create or the greenhouse that we create. Okay? God can send parts of himself into an avatar like Christ, fully human, fully God. Essence of God is in there. That's why he could be inside Christ and outside at the same time. because he's too big to wholly fit in his own creation. It can't be done. And anyway, if I'm Satan, I'm going to take that book, the main story that tells, what happened, and I'm going to tear it up, and I'm going to throw each section to a different continent. And each culture is going to name each book a different religion. And that's how you get Buddhism, Catholicism, Protestantism. Well, Protestantism, then you have even more fractioning and schisms happening, because each culture, then you have more division occurring, right? God told us to go forth and multiply, not divide. But anyways, so that's what I would do if I were the enemy. So I believe that each religion has a bit of truth. So when I say God talks to me and I talk to God, I believe that every creation of God has a piece of him inside of them. Not like Christ, but like Christ. Not the same as Christ, but very much like him. Okay? So that conscience that we have within us, that's our inner Jiminy Cricket, JC, Jesus Christ. I don't care what you personally call it. That's what I call it. That's how I relate. So for the purposes of this channel, when I say I talk to God through my inner telephone. That is my Holy Spirit that is within, the peace of God that's inside of me. When I meditate, when I listen, when I'm quiet, and I go to my quiet place, and I pray, and then I listen, because that's how polite conversation works. You speak to convey a point, but then you actively listen. What's actively listen? You're not listening just to be quiet and waiting for your turn to speak. That's not listening. You're listening to process the information that person is giving you. That's listening, okay? So I want to be really clear when I speak about this next topic. God is very good. Now, okay, so this will get weird. We're going to look at a couple things, but let's look at this first. Sorry, I should have cleared that first. So this is the butterfly effect. You might have seen the movie with Ashton Kutcher in 2004. Nobody's talking. Hey, guys. If you do understand the verbiage I'm using, I would appreciate the thumbs up being pressed. That lets me know if I need to change the language I'm using. In this day and age, unfortunately, words and the defining and definitions of words are changing fast. So I'm becoming even more alienated, it seems, because there just aren't a lot of philosophical and theological types of thinkers out there today. Praise God, they come to this channel, and I do have some fellowship, and you guys are awesome. But if you don't understand me, please let me know, and I'll use different euphemisms and or analogies to try and get a point across. Because I do believe I have something to offer in this area, and again, this is me attempting to repay a debt. Now, I do believe that debt has been repaid, and that's kind of what I'm going to talk about here in regards to the movie The Sound of Freedom and how I think this has all come about. Wow, I made it to Alive. Good morning. I have that movie, but it's been years and years since I watched it. The movie wasn't the best. It's really cool concept though, and that's what I want to touch on is the idea of how something like this is actually science, and it's a repeatable theory. It's a theory that is provable. So hold please. Sorry, I get a bit of the dry mouth in the mornings. Mandela effect has something to do with this. I suppose you could say that. I really don't like the term Mandela effect myself because I define that term differently than 99.8% of people out there. And like most people, I'm going to say this, and I don't usually say this most of the time. I believe I am correct in the way that I define that term. And I rarely say that being correct in this day and age is almost a fluid concept, sadly. So the butterfly effect is the idea that small things can have nonlinear impacts on a complex system. The concept is imagined with a butterfly flapping its wings and causing a typhoon. Of course, a single act like the butterfly flapping its wings cannot cause a typhoon. Hold, please. Dismiss that last sentence because I don't want you to go into a negative place with this or a pessimistic attitude, because that's not really what we're going to talk about. Now, here's where the idea came from. It came from the idea that if a butterfly flaps its wings in India, that tiny change in air pressure could eventually cause a tornado in Iowa. Now, they say, can that actually happen? Probably not, okay? However, hold please. I am looking for, right here, the butterfly effect. This is more of, what word am I looking for here? And again, I'm going to get very kind of stray into philosophical territory with this, but this is part testimony. Okay, this is the butterfly effect. Last night I was feeling really low and I did a lot of ugly crying. That's why my voice is scratchy. I'll be very real with you guys. I was feeling really down and I'm like, I'm trying so hard not to pretend things are normal, but I am giving effort to make change in my life, and I'm making effort like to not just scream and be like, what is wrong with everybody and everything, and what happened? Like, what happened? Because it is traumatizing and it's hard sometimes to be in the same place where you were damaged and carry on with everyday life. Sometimes I want to just sit here and do nothing but pray. Like, that's what I want to do with my days at this point in time, is literally pray all day. And so there are some people who say that that is a waste of time. And I understand that. And I used to agree with you. However, there are monks, Buddhist monks, who spend in their lifetimes doing that, just that. And there are New Age people as well who believe that they are literally holding up the universe with their positive meditation frequency outputs. But because I am more of a quote-unquote Christian Catholic mystic, and I'm a female, people would tell me that I'm crazy or that I'm wasting my time because I want to spend most of my time in contemplative prayer at this point in my life. I believe that is a double standard. I believe it's unjust and unfair and unrighteous judgment. So I am really doing my best at this point to get out there and be amongst other beings, because I'm not convinced everyone here at this point is of mankind, but I'm doing my best to just put my best foot forward and abide in God's love and peace and the hope in Christ and in the future, but to abide in the gift of the present and to just love others and to just serve them however I can, whether that be a smile, carrying somebody's bags to the car, holding a door open for people, just in really simple ways. And I want to talk about, just for a minute, about how I was so low yesterday, but I looked around and I realized that somehow the scales of justice, and yes, I use terms from other faith systems, and that's why I was explaining myself before I even got into the video content, is sadly, we are all so diverse at this time. I do believe there is merit in every faith system. I do believe there is truth in it. See, each culture has its own faith system, but we're not so different. Some of the faith systems only look different because of the culture, and culture is only different because of the area in which you live. Follow me here. It doesn't mean it's wicked. It's just different because of the geographical and demographical ways in which we were brought up. Some of the beliefs and tenets and values and moral ethics are in alignment. So if you hear me use different terminologies, please don't let that turn you off of the content as a whole. Because I do love mankind. I love all of you, even my trolls, even the people that give me a hard time. I will turn around and pray for them. Even if I get snarky with them and I might be sarcastic with them, I will still pray for them. And if you can't see that Christ himself oftentimes got frustrated and was himself sarcastic with the apostles, and that's what you see in the Gnostic Gospels, that's why they were kind of put aside. It's not because of the radical theology in them. It's because of how he spoke. In the one verse, Christ says, well, I will just turn Mary into a man then. He wasn't being literal. He didn't mean he was literally going to turn Mary into a man. And some Gnostics have taken that literally. That's why you're seeing all this this dysphoria you're seeing. He was not literal. He was being snarky. He's like, well, geez, if you don't approve, I'll just turn her into a man. By all means, I'm sorry, your king or whoever you are with so much righteousness. If you don't approve of her, well, I'll just turn her into a man. We have to be real when we look in the mirror at who we are. No religion holds all truth, but each has some. Katia. Hi, Katia. I know you can't see me and we're not physically together, so I really try to inflect warmth into my voice when I greet you, because it is so lovely to have you here. And I love you so much. And your comment yesterday helped to get me through a really rough interlude. And I'm so grateful for you. Thank you for being here. So I was looking around and I'm like, Lord, what do you want me to do? I've been stuck in this town where you told me to stand firm. You told me to stand in the gap. You told me to be the buffer for my sons and other children in the area. You told me to take the medicine. And I'll get into that in a minute about, again, how God works in reverse for me, about how I ask for certain things. And then I see, oh my God, I prayed for this to happen. And here I am wondering why it happened when I actually prayed for it and God gave it to me. God is good all the time, guys. All the time. And we're living in reverse here. Everything's a reflection here, like a mirror, Alice in the Looking Glass. See, these things aren't wicked all the time. It's how they're applied. They want you to think Disney and fairy tales are wicked all the time. They want everything to have a sensual nature. But who is worse? The eye seeing everything with the sensual nature, and yes, I'm using an N there instead of an X for a reason. Who is more wicked? The eye that sees everything from that view? Or the ones presenting things with maybe a fleshly overture? We have to be very careful here. We have to be very, very careful here. All right? And I'm being honest. Again, we cannot change others. We cannot control them. And we do influence them, though, so we have to take accountability when we are a stumbling block to others. If we cause somebody else to fall in the ditch, we have to, and I'm not telling you what to do. I'm saying as a spirit, if you don't do this, per natural law, you will be indebted at that point. You can call it karma as a Christian viewpoint. I call it consequences for your actions, but it is the same thing. Really, truly, it's the same thing. Okay? Again, I say to you, I pull out the commonalities because where you see these commonalities, that is truth. Truth stands alone. It doesn't need a defender. But when it has a defender, you know why truth doesn't need the defender. You know who needs the defender? You know who needs to see that? Our brothers and sisters. Okay? So yesterday I'm like, man, God, what am I supposed to be doing? I must be really messing up. You know, I haven't been able to reach anyone of any means in any high position to say, hey, these are the things that I'm noticing, recognizing. I've made these observances. I didn't recognize them for what they were until I didn't even know what the word trafficking meant until 2018. I had no idea what that word meant. Well, when I saw the word human trafficking, I had no clue. I thought it was people smuggling other people across the border. And I thought those people wanted to be smuggled across the border. Like, I thought they wanted to be in America. I want to be in America, West Side Story. Like, that's how naive that I've been. And I didn't, again, it wasn't willing. I just didn't know. And that's how most of America is. I just didn't know. They don't want us to know. That's the whole point of a secret. And for those of you who say there is no such thing as a worldwide conspiracy, it can't be done, I say to you, Santa Claus. Santa Claus is the worldwide conspiracy that every adult agrees to keep. We might not shake on it, but we silently agree to keep that conspiracy. Even the media talks about Santa Claus traveling across the skies every Christmas. No matter what religion we are. I love you back. You are a true Christian. What is it? Are you talking about manna? What is it? Or are you asking me a question? I'm sorry. My head is like in spirit today. Oh, gang stalking. Are you asking me what is gang stalking? Oh, like traffic. Oh, what is trafficking? Or what is gang stalking? Gang stalking is what happened to me when I started to wake up to the way the world really was. Oh, trafficking is a lot of things. And that's the that's the rub of it. I'm going to use a lot of gambling slang here, and it's probably dated gambling slang. I didn't recognize that's what it was until I grew up and saw a few movies. I picked it up from my dad, but it's also a really good way to get around censors and using what I consider to be gross and derogatory terminology. So basically what it is it is the selling of human beings for what, and the exploitation of human beings for whatever you can get them for. So basically it is a human being. Yeah, exactly. Me and my husband, we weren't going to do that either. And everyone made us feel like, well, your son will be made fun of if you don't do it. And, well, everything was my mother-in-law. And I'm not blaming her. She did a lot of good for my children. She's still very good to them. She was good to me in a lot of ways. But by good, I mean worldly good. She gave us stuff, and she did give us her time, but the fruit was rotten. It was spoiled, and I didn't recognize that. I was a victim of trafficking, whether it was, how do I say this? Again, a lot of people don't know what trafficking is, and when you find out what it is, you're like, wow, this is over half of America. We're a melting pot because most of us are trafficked in one way or another. Trafficking is the exploitation of the human being, and it starts in many ways. So basically, one, for some people, it starts as a child. You are smuggled across a border. It is the exploitation of a human being. That means you are either sold, you are used as a product, basically, for whatever you can gain another individual, whether that be cash, whether that be physical, I don't even know how to say this, physical longevity, aka organ transplants, stem cells, skin harvesting, like anything that another individual could do to sustain their own life through that other individual. Okay. So let's say somebody's rich and wealthy, and they quote unquote adopt individuals when they go to make a movie. Because do you ever notice actors have no problem going across borders? They go all the time, and they quote unquote adopt these children. They buy these children. Okay, that's what adoption is. You have to pay for a child. Most people have to wait years to do this. They are background checked, they are vetted, and yes, you have to pay a quote unquote processing fee. You're basically buying a child. Okay? Adoption is not cool. It's not okay. There used to be, why do you think there used to be orphanages all over the place? All over the place. Why do you think there were asylums all over the place? There weren't that many people that had mental issues. You don't see them now, do you? It was because there were too many people that were speaking the truth about situations. Why do you think they did so many lobotomies? I mean, sure, there were a lot of mad scientists and they did a lot of experimentation. I mean, people need to wake up. This is what Christ did. And this is why they kill people that tell the truth. They don't want that. They don't want people that tell the truth. They want you blind. It's like carnies, right? You ever go to a carnival? You take your kid to a carnival and you say, no, honey, that's a carny. When I first went to a fair, I had no idea what a carny was. My husband had to tell me. I didn't know what they were, what they did, how they ran game. No clue. I didn't really know what running game was until my father kind of told me, and then my husband told me, but then I danced for a few years and I was like, oh, I see. Now I know what running game was. And people knew I was gullible. I was very innocent. I was very innocent, and I was turned out in a few different ways without even I didn't know what was happening. I thought that I was in a relationship. I was adopted when I was 16 months old. My mom was allegedly adopted. But basically what happens is, if someone can, quote unquote, adopt a child, buy a child, okay? They will use that individual and exploit that individual their whole lives. First, they will try to get money from that person, whether they put them into the entertainment industry and they take their checks, whether they just make that person a work mule and they make them go work in the fields. However they can earn money from that person, they will. And let's say that person is a female. Well, even better. You can make money all day long, several times, because that female can put out physically to a man or whatever several times a day. So if you have a female, it's even better because you can make bank several times a day. But what happens when that female breaks down? Well, you know what? If she's got good organs on the inside, you can take those. And then she's obviously deceased, so you got life insurance on her. You've been claiming that since the day you bought her. So, boom, it's payday. It's payday. Biatches, you got like $1 million there. They will make money off of you until the day you die. This is why I say it's under an umbrella of organized crime. It's life insurance. It is the entertainment industry. Why do you think they have life insurance on all the actors? Why do you think they had life insurance on Carrie Fisher? Where do you think all these actors and actresses come from? Why do you think they're all in families? Why do you think most of them are adopted? Are you starting to see the picture now and where all this comes from and how sick we are as a society as a whole? Most people in America are exploited in one way or another. Most people in America have been trafficked at one time or another because basically all it is exploitation. You are either willingly trafficked or you are unwillingly and unknowingly trafficked because you don't know what it really is. I'm sorry, this is very triggering for me, and I have to step outside and have a cigarette. I apologize. So yesterday, I was talking to God, and I was like, Lord, I don't know what you want me to do. I said I was a part of this problem. I didn't realize it. I didn't even know what it was until a few years ago. And you're going to say, Jen, well, what woke you up to this a few years ago? What happened? A lot of things happened. Number one, I aged out. I think, now listen, follow me. What is social media, guys? Well, you got a lot of women, a lot of hot women posting their pictures up there, right? Because you got a whole society of insecure women who need men and women, especially men, though, to tell them how pretty they are. I kept getting messages from guys in India, and I couldn't figure out why all these sock puppet accounts kept contacting me. So I started blocking them all, but that wasn't enough. I started getting more. And then I started getting offers of money. And then I started getting offers of sugar daddies. So I started blocking more. But that wasn't enough. Then I noticed a few people started coming around from my past. And it was not a savory past. It was when I was a dancer. This woman came around. Her and her son. Her son befriended my son. She referred me to a counselor who might be able to help me since I was having trouble in my marriage and I should be careful with an abusive situation like that. My counselor even suggested maybe my husband had life insurance on me. That idea came from my counselor. My counselor, during a session, said, Jen, you've been here for an hour, and I had lost time at that counseling session. I also saw in his closet one day, because he counseled children. He had hash marks and names written on the back of his closet door, and I couldn't figure out why. Then I started seeing things written on closet doors. Hi, troll. Then I started, are you a troll? And then I started seeing things written on the doorways in my houses. And then I started being offered to be taken places. And then I started digging through electronic devices of loved ones, which was legal because they were in the same household. That's all I'll say. And I started seeing certain signs. And again, I didn't know what trafficking was. All I knew is that these certain places were connected because they had certain services that were offered at these places by women. That if you went into these places, you could get services by women for money. And then I saw another place that didn't make sense. Why would you go to storage units? You know what storage units would be good for? They would be a very good place to store people, short term, if you had to move 10 or 20 people at a time. Then I saw that same person was also stopping at hotels and motels, different ones, seedy motels, by the hour, a couple times a week. And I started putting all these things together. And then it was told to me, because they always have to tell you and show you what they're doing, right? And I started catching on, only you're not supposed to catch on. They tell your subconscious. They tell you in ways that you're not supposed to catch on to. But I told you God has always shown me things in reverse. So when they started showing me these things, plus my mother had introduced me to the occult at a young age, then I started going back in my mind and in my memories to when a certain loved one, an older one, told me about certain relations of hers taking babies down to the border and selling them for quarters because they couldn't afford to keep them. They weren't even their own babies. They were their sister's babies. On and on it goes throughout my life. People telling me things, showing me things. And I put it all together. They didn't think I would. Then I was told about a certain associate of an associate that was put to jail for trafficking. And I'm like, what's that? And I recognized, wow, I might be a target for something. And I recognized my house wasn't really secure and I was alone a lot. And I realized that I was kind of being followed places. And I had a patio sliding glass doors. And again, this is when I was really pretty. I had a lot of followers on Facebook. I noticed that I was being recognized places. It was very odd. Like people were doing double takes, people were following me. It was very strange. And I had sliding glass doors that were pretty unsafe and secure. So I put my grandma's china cabinet in front of these doors. And I received a lot of resistance. Somebody screamed at me for doing this. Why would you do this? And I said, well, to be frank with you, I did that so that I would feel safer. This person should want me to feel safe. But they screamed at me, you need to move this. I said I could barely get it in front of the door by myself to begin with. I'm certainly not moving it now, especially with you throwing a fit like this. Then the cops were called on a specific night because I heard through the vents that they should get rid of me, that it would be sad, but they would get a lot of cards filled with money and that they would be rich and they would bank. So the police were called. The police basically told me to go to bed and that I was imagining things, even when I told them that this person there, who had a gun on them, also had an illicit substance on them. They did nothing to that person. That person wasn't even checked. And I was told pretty much to go to bed, crazy woman, or we'll take you to jail. I said, this man is going to hurt me and you're going to be liable because I told you he was going to hurt me. 3 months later, I almost lost my life because I was whacked in the head with a door. My ear was almost pulled off. I had to be sewn back on. When I believe that, like a piece of meat or a piece of cattle, I was chipped. That is my story in a nutshell. That is why I do what I do. So yesterday I'm thinking to God, I said, all this stuff going on with Sound of Freedom, I said, it's great. I said, it really is, and I want to be happy, and I want to be excited. I said, but, I don't trust the media. I said, I don't trust the Mormon church, and it seems like the Catholic Church is getting wrapped up with the Mormon church. I'm not really against one religion. Again, I think there's truth in all of them. That would be awesome if we could all get together in that way. And I know that there's a lot of Christians that disagree with me. A lot of people are for the division. They want their religion to stay traditional. I love traditional Catholicism. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with tradition. I'm just saying there's also nothing wrong with coming together as a worldwide community and doing it out of true love. And I don't mean this fake love that politicians speak of. I mean in service to one another. Love is when you put the welfare of another ahead of your own. That's what Christ did by speaking truth, knowing that they would want to kill him. Being who I am a nobody. I'm a pleb in this society. I'm not even a ripple. I will probably die for this. And I don't care. I told God I didn't care. I said, use my testimony, please, to help others. And I'm going to tell you something. And you don't have to believe me. You don't have to believe any of this. There's a reason I do this, and I'm going to tell you right now what it is. Well, part of it. I told God, I said, you know what? I said, do whatever you want with this. I don't know why you're showing me these things now, why I'm suddenly recognizing what they are. It was literally like I walked around for years in some type of cloudy haze. I said, but thank you for giving me my sovereignty back. The day that that these kickoff events happened, in the middle of an abusive session, that's what I call them, sessions, because they would last for days. I was literally made to look in the mirror and tell myself, I'm not a good person. I'm not a good person. I'm not a good person. I had to do that over and over again. And finally, I said, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm the main character in my own story, and I'm taking my free will back. And you could literally, it's like a vacuum entered the room. This is why I teach you about consent and about sovereignty. Your free will is your own to wield. That is your sword of the Spirit. Free will is what animates the sword of the Spirit, which is the tongue. And that should always be truth coming off of that tongue. That's why it is a sword, because it's powerful and it does divide people. Unfortunately, it shouldn't do that. We should be spiritually evolved at this point. Beyond that, we shouldn't be barbaric. We shouldn't be killing each other. We should understand that we're all eternal and that killing each other doesn't do anything but harm the person who's doing it. Honestly, it stunts their spiritual evolution. The person who is murdered, I feel like they get a free pass when it comes to like purgatory and things like that. But here's what I told God before any of this started, when I started seeing these things. I said, just do this. Use my testimony however you want, however you see fit. I don't care who watches it. I don't care who sees me, who hears me, who follows me. Just let no harm come to me in that way. Don't let, I don't remember what words I used regarding self, because myself wasn't important, to be honest with you. I said, they can watch, they can follow me, because this is when I realized I was being monitored. I said, I don't care what they hear, what they see, as long as it's to the good of their spirit. And I said, as long as it's to the good of my sons, let it be towards their salvation. Let it be towards the salvation of others. Now listen, I'm not saying that Christ, what he did wasn't enough. That's not, when people say that, that's not what is meant by that. I just found out a few days ago, I was listening again to the testimony of Annalise Michael. If you don't know who Annalise is, she is the one who they based the movie Emily Rose upon. They're all over YouTube, the tapes of Annalise Michel. They're creepy. I wouldn't advise listening to them unless you have a strong spiritual wall built around you and that you're a prayer warrior, because they can lead you to a dark place. But she was basically possessed, and Mother Mary came to her and said, this can end for you now, but if you consent, this will go towards the salvation of German priests. She didn't tell her how it would happen, why it would happen, if they would see it, hear it, how it would work. She just told her what would happen. Now, there are those who would say, well, it was a deception. It was just to gain consent to Annalise's body. Well, first of all, they were already there. She was already in the throes of possession when this vision occurred, number one. Number two, demons hate Mother Mary. This is why the Protestant church is in danger. And I love them. I've went to Protestant churches. I've fellowshipped with them. I love you guys. I love Muslims. I love your religions. I love parts of the KJV Bible, okay? So I love Paul Washer. So I'm not like throwing mud here. That's not what this is about, okay? I don't want people to stop listening to the main point because like of, oh, well, she's a girl, so I'm not going to listen. Like, just because I don't agree with everything David Icke says, doesn't mean that there aren't bits of truth that don't deserve examination, right? I'm telling you this not to puff myself up, but to lead you someplace, to encourage you that no matter what's happening in your life right now, do whatever good you can in your own small corner of this realm, because it is to the good. There is no waste here. It might look like waste to you, but it's being used to the good. That's what my Aunt Grace used to say. My step-grandma, when we played gin rummy, she played cards with me all the time. Old Catholic Italian woman. She'd make pasta vazul. I'd get to try all her, her wedding soup, all that stuff. And she would play gin rummy with me. And when she would score at the end, she would say, and 5 to the good. After she'd do all the subtraction when I lost, she'd say, and there you have 5 to the good. God uses every bit, everything. There is no waste. Every bad is to the good. Okay? So I said, God, use all of this. Whatever happens to me, any suffering, I'll take it. I'll take it all. Please don't punish my children. Any generational curses, because I hate that. The child shall be punished for the father's da 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 da. And I think that's just God's way of saying, watch what you do, because it will affect your kids. My parents did certain things that affected me, and I wish they hadn't. But then, now I'm looking and I'm like, oh my God, I swore I would never do that. And I did the exact same thing. We have to be very careful with our words. When you swear or make a promise or a vow, it's almost like egging on the universe, and the opposite happens. We're going to look at the reversal, law of reversal and causality again. And we're going to look at natural law right after this. Look into illusion, because it all goes together. Okay, so let me move along with this. I don't want this to be too wordy. I apologize. So I told God, all this, any suffering I had to go through, whatever, make it to the good of my children, obviously my spouse, and especially my children. Please, my own salvation. To the ones that I removed from this world for participating in abortion. And I've confessed to my sins publicly. And I did that for a reason. I don't want Satan to have anything to hold against me. To say, oh, well, that's what's happening right now. I hope people realize this. A lot of things you're seeing happening, and a lot of the masking you're seeing with people, just like the movies with the tape over the children's mouths. These people are keeping quiet because they're literally being blackmailed by Satan, by darkness, okay? Because they've done things that they don't want coming out. I don't want to give that to Satan. I don't want anything that he can use against me. So I've pretty much aired all my dirty laundry. Not because I want to defame myself or have some type of false humility or anything like that, but because I want you to know everything I'm telling you is true. There's nothing he can come back and say, blackmail me with. I have no hidden agendas or motivations. There's nobody sponsoring me. I have not even 200 subs anymore, because when I deleted the content, I deleted all the subs too. I did that so people would see there is no agenda. Now, I came out about trafficking. I have not given names because I can't do that, and I won't do that. And there are certain proofs I don't have. I am the proof. I am the evidence. My life is the evidence. I was violated in my own home. I won't tell you who by who. I won't give you names. I tried to report it. I had bruises. I wasn't offered to show them. They did not take pictures of them. They did not offer a rape kit. Those are normal things that are conducted and done in normal circumstances. Nothing in my life has been normal. Why does that matter to you? So that you know what to look for. So that you can say, wow, there's a lot of cars with tinted windows in my area now. Wow, I'm noticing a lot of people with new cars now too. Wow, I'm noticing a lot of people driving the same cars. Why do you think they're driving the same vehicles? Number one, it's easier to change the plates. Number two, it's harder for witnesses to say, well, they threw him into a silver SUV. Well, what was the license plate? I don't know, but it was a silver SUV. Well, there's 500 SUVs in that area of Alabama. Or whatever, town you're in. I call them the Silver Surfer Club where I'm at. Do you get what I'm saying, though? There's a reason they all drive white vans without handles on them. Number one, so the people they grab off the street can't get out. Number two, so it's harder to report. What do you mean a white van? Did you get the license plate? Well, no, but it was white van. Isn't that a start for you? Well, there's only 5,000 of those in your city. Start watching for these things. Strangers in your area. People still wearing masks in your area. People in places they don't belong. I know several years ago, before all this started, there were police uniforms that were stolen, and they were stopping specifically female drivers alone who were alone on the highway. A couple of them were smart enough, they did not stop. A couple of women were literally stolen right off of the highway. This is America. People, just because crimes aren't reported doesn't mean they're not happening. We can't wait for things to be on the news or on the television. The Civil War, revolution are not going to be televised or broadcast. Resistance will not be broadcast. The second coming will not be broadcast. Tribulation, martyrdom of the saints, these things will not be televised unless they can use it to manipulate others into compliance. These things will not be broadcast. You need to know this. But you know how I've been talking about on the channel, why do all these things in my personal life seem to be on television and in the public? And I'm like, it's making me feel really creepy. Down to the fact that I started having a couple Modelo beers because that's what they referred me to drink over down at the Mexican place I like to go to, because they've always been kind to me there. And because it's easy to eat vegetarian there when I'm not lapsing and eating chicken or fish. Oh gosh, Modelo beer. That, after I drank a couple of those, that ends up being the best-selling beer. So everything in my private life ends up becoming public. But now, not just that, this trafficking thing is huge now. Huge. And I told you I feel like Truman. Why is that? Because way back when this all began, I told God, use my testimony however you need to. I said, I don't need to take the glory, but if anyone does recognize me, I'll give all the glory to you, to God. I'll say, God did it. I didn't do any of this. And what is God doing? It's the butterfly effect. I might not think that anything I've done, that just by standing firm in truth, has helped anybody. I might not have talked to anyone in authority. I might not have been able to report anybody to anybody in authority. I might not even have anyone in my area who is not corrupt in authority. But somehow, just by talking about it, has created the butterfly effect. I totally believe that. And if you've been with me on this journey for the last 4 years, you don't just believe, you know it too. I know you do. I know you do by the messages and the comments I've gotten the last few days. Right here with you. Hi, Windsor. So I was feeling so low yesterday, like, man, Lord, I've failed. I've not done anything that I was supposed to do for you. I've not protected the children. I've not stood up for the children. I've not defended the infirm. I've not saved a life. 2 lives, really. 4 if you count my current children who are here. 6 if you count the size of my family. Plus 1 if you count saving an extra life. I can't even break even. I'm a failure, Lord. I've failed you. I'm worthless. I am nothing. I'm lower than plankton, Lord. I serve dogs. That's who I serve. I'm lower than dogs. I pick up poo all day. And I'm a cashier. I had aspirations. I had goals, dreams, visions of doing things, of having my own nonprofit. I had a business model. I'm a failure in the world, and I'm a failure to you, Lord. That's where I was yesterday. And I'm thinking, Sound of Freedom, I'm like, it's got to be a honeypot. There's no way that this is actually gonna happen. There's no way they're actually gonna put away genuine bad guys. No way. With the things I'm seeing in this town, the bad guys flourishing, No way they're actually going to put bad guys away. But then I had to remember, God is still in control. This is still his show. He is still the author. He is still the grand architect. He is still the head honcho. He is the boss. I felt like an utter failure in my mission and purpose yesterday. But you don't know, guys. You could feel low one day. You could be feeling like an utter outcast, failure to God, failure in your family. But you don't know who you are impacting and in what way you're impacting them. You have no idea. I fully and totally believe that by speaking out in 2018 and 19 and really speaking out about all these things, Katie, too, not puffing you up, but it's been almost too lonely to bear, and I needed to know one person cared. I wanted to check myself out. Thank you for being brave enough to speak your truth. I love you. God used you to me. Not puffing you up, but it's been almost too lonely to bear, and I needed to know one person cared. Thank you. I love you so much, Katie. Like I said, if even one person has helped, then it's all worth it to me. And I totally believe that by having the conversations we've had on this channel, on Brie and Jen, the original channel, I mean, what did we talk about? We've seen the ripple effects of all of it. Retrocausality, the law of reversal. We talked about it, then Vanessa was talking about it. Then Matt on QOC was talking about it. You've helped me more than you'll ever know. Ditto, Katia. Ditto. You have no idea. I think about you all the time, and I pray for you. And I had a moment yesterday. I saw a girl, beautiful young lady, who was the daughter of someone who has been involved in all this shenanigans around here, who I thought was a friend at one, real good friend, someone that I have grown, someone that I loved as a sister. And I saw this young lady with makeup on and booty shorts on. And I felt guilty because I'm like, man, I used to watch her. I used to babysit her. I held her as a baby. Probably while her mother was with my husband. Sad to say. Huh. Because that's how these people are. And I'm fine. Like, that doesn't even bother me. What bothered me was the fact that I put makeup on her when she was just little. And it was just little girl, like Tinkerbell stuff. The booty shorts hurt the worst, though. And I'm like, man, I probably influenced her in a negative way, obviously. And I felt like garbage, like trash, utter trash. And I had been asking God, man, I really wish I could have had a daughter. And then I saw her and I'm like, I didn't deserve a daughter. I didn't deserve a daughter. I didn't deserve sons. I deserve nothing. And I'm grateful for everything that I have, even the moments of suffering, because they let me really know the moments that I'm blessed. And I know that not everybody, see, things have been so hard with my loved ones that I live with. I know that they don't see the soft side of me much anymore. I know they don't. Because that trauma is still there and it's still a wall between us. And because I don't trust anymore. That's one thing. I trust God. I trust God. But I don't trust anyone anymore. It's too easy to, like, everyone's acting. I see it. And I don't even know if they know it. Most people don't know they're acting. And it's so obvious once you come out of it. And it's painful to watch and see. And I was a part of it. The butterfly effect is real, guys. Everything we do, everything we say. And there are moments and there are days where I do nothing anymore but pray, because there are too many times when I ran around and did and said things on autopilot when I was literally insane. And that's what I think is happening. I think a lot of people are running around truly insane and they don't know it. It's like there are a certain number of us see it. 99% of people are acting and being fake. And what's really disturbing is that some people are acting and they know they're acting. I trust hardly anyone. You know, the Bible says trust no man. Trust no man. The more that I experience in life, the more that the Bible is true, unfortunately. But I don't understand Old Testament God, and I'm not going to say that I do. There are too many questions that I have there. And I do believe that I hear angels talk because I believe they are frequency-based. And I have tinnitus constantly. Jesus told us even the scribes were liars. Bingo. That's why I have a hard time with the Old Testament. The New Testament, I do have difficulties with in certain areas. But I think because it's closer to our time, our discernment, it's easier to discern like what was intended. I'll just say that. You know what I mean? It's closer to our own time frame, so the language is easier for us to say, okay, this is what was meant. But yeah, in the Old Testament, I think things were ascribed to Creator God that were clearly not Creator God's wishes. And I think people spoke for God when it was not Creator God. Okay, so I have something to show you, and you're going to say, what does it have to do with this? Well, I don't know, but I know that I was feeling really down, and I saw this, and I said, yep, this is God letting me know He's watching and He's listening. So, this is pretty cool, and I'm going to show you. I know there's other connections to be made. I'll say that right off the jump, right off the get, okay? I'm going to show you the connections I made. A lot of people don't know this. A lot of people do know this. I don't know what you know, so I'm just going to state some things. If you know it, fine. Just be patient until we get to what you don't know. The Bible is many things at one time. This is why you got to pay attention, because even parts where the scribes were lying or whatever, Old Testament is black, New Testament is white. Old Testament is carnal, New Testament is spiritual. Old Testament and New Testament together is chronological, is a timeline. It's a historical timeline of mankind. It is also a law book. It is a legal book. It is a societal book. It will teach you how to set up a society. It is also a farming book. It will teach you how to farm if you pay attention. It is also an astronomical book. A lot of people don't know this yet, but the information is out there and has been available for a long time. So, if you pay attention, you will see that in Greek mythology and in the Bible, and in other places, again, you have to really understand poetic language to understand ancient writings. You have to understand people like Shakespeare. You really have to get in touch with your inner thespian, your inner theologian, to I mean, let's just be real. You've got to know you have a spirit. Like in a lot, I don't know who we have walking around today. They don't even recognize it, and to me, that's just I find that disturbing. And I'm real with you guys. So when I find something disturbing, I tell you about it. And I want to mention one thing real quick before we segue here. When the Pharisees, and I think this is a very striking moment in scripture, and I also think visually, if you imagine it in your own mind, and I bring it up a lot lately because I think it's valuable and I think it's going to be prophetic. I don't want to say to whom or in what way just yet. You guys know that I asked God in the beginning of my journey what my purpose is, what He wanted me to do. I said, please, God, give me a word. God has a sense of humor. When I ask God for a word, He will give me a single word. When I asked God the first time when I started talking to Him again and listening, I said, God, what do you want me to do? Just give me a word, any word. What should I do? And I said, give me a sign. And I'm riding in a car and I look over and God, of course, gave me a literal sign. And the sign that was on the road said, go to church. So I started going to churches and I went to a lot of them. So when I asked God for a word, He said, witness. And I didn't know what that meant. I had just started reading the Bible. I'm like, what does that mean? I'm a witness to a crime? Okay. And that's when I started learning what trafficking was. And I was like, oh my goodness. But we know scripture. We know that, and this is why I believe scripture is inspired by God, because every verse has at least three meanings, three purposeful, intentional meanings. One physical, material meaning, one spiritual, or we'll just say spiritual intention. And the third one is a prophetic timeline connotation or intention. Okay? So when I ask God, what is my purpose? Who am I? What am I? God said, witness. I didn't know what that meant. But in the Bible, it says that's our Great Commission. It's one of the things we're supposed to do is to witness. So when God said witness, I'm like, okay, am I witness to crime? I started learning about trafficking and all of the things that fall under that general umbrella of trafficking. Then I read that we are to witness, that it's a verb. We're to witness about God and our testimony, and that is our power over Satan. And it also brings other people to the fold, to our family, back to our family under God. Number 3, timeline and prophetically speaking, in Revelation, there is talk of the two witnesses. Am I one of those? I go back and forth with that. I don't even know. So I cannot answer that for you. So please don't ask me, because honestly, it causes me, for some reason, that question causes me literal pain. So I can't answer that question. So let's continue. That has meaning when we jump to this. I was checking out current events when I was starting to feel low, and I realized that my little testimony and my little small channel and our conversations we've been having absolutely have had an impact, and that God is well pleased with us, and that my scales are even, and that everything that has happened to me from 2017 on, I prayed for. I might have prayed for it just a month ago, but I did pray for it, and God is not in time. So when all these things started happening to me, it was kind of my own asking, even though I asked for it after the fact, Does that make sense? I know that's hard to understand. I also did ask, and I think this might be valuable to you guys. I did ask that if I would have to go to some type of purgatory, that if that's a legit thing. And the Bible does speak of people going to different places. I'm not going to get into that now. I'll just say the Bible and other books talk about us going to different places, a variety of different places. I know that's not the Protestant view, but it is in there if you read it yourself. Um, so yeah, I did say if I would have to go to a place like purgatory, I'd rather avoid it. So please just let me break even here. Let me have to deal with my quote unquote karma here on earth. And there are moments since 2018. You guys know that when I went to Florida in May of 2018, everything changed. And since looking at that trip to Florida, during that trip, there was a spiral filmed in the sky at that time. I had a strange experience on the beach with the sky at that time. I didn't know there was anything filmed while I was down there. And they also had an issue with the water turning red. I didn't know that till recently. I showed it in a live stream probably about a month ago. I didn't know the water turned red while I was down there. So there's that. So yes, my life has been very strange. I told God I would witness about these things. That's why I'm telling you. Because I promised. It's not to bore you. It's not to brag. It's certainly not to like boast or puff up because like I told you, most of my days are spent cleaning up poopy from my dogs, tending to my meager tomato plants, praying that my pepper plants will miraculously catch up or that I can get more dirt and plant some more pepper plants. Or that I will miraculously be gifted with a new bike because mine is just hit and it is my way to work and my way around town. Yada, yada, yada. So I am lower than plankton. This channel is not about puffing myself up. City-sized comet headed toward Earth. You read it here. Grows horns. Why is that relevant? After massive volcanic eruption. Hold, please. I told you very specifically that I received clues in the beginning of all this in 2018, the summer, spring of 2018. Everything seemed to start happening for me about a year and a half before it erupted into the world. You know, it started in the world as CV. I think me and Lucky's Girl determined around, what was it, September 2019? For me, it was around April or May of 2018. The dreams started in 2017, I think, for me, spring of 2017. But my kickoff events, when I started really noticing things were happening and I came out of whatever haze it was I was in for years, really started during my waking hours in 2018. And I know you guys have had, some of you I've talked to have had the dreams too, about earthquakes and floods. Some of us have that in common. So this is not an isolated thing with just me. I know many people, at least, unless it's like AI copying my story over and over, I know that other people have had these same experiences. So that's pretty valuable information, pretty interesting information. Now, this is interesting because of the numbers involved and because of the timeline. And because at the beginning of this, like I said, certain people spent a couple of days with me at least, significant time, each for a different reason. With one person, they were testing me for like gambling and things. They took me to a casino, wanted to see if I would gamble. I wouldn't gamble. I had an earthquake dream just yesterday. Look at that synchronicity. I wish and what's ironic is I cannot find my testimony video, my original one about the earthquakes, and it wasn't a live, it was an upload, so it should be in my Google Drive, and it's not there. And I didn't delete it or those, like, I save everything, and I still have videos documentation, TI videos that I haven't shown anyone, that I won't show anyone. It's my insurance. People that ask for that proof, they are deceivers. They are gaslighters. They are people who are just fishing, phishing. They are fishing and they think I'm stupid. Like, and it's sad. It's really sad that people have this really low level. They're goons. I call them goons, right? Um, Dagos, and I can say that word because I am one. Italians in the mob. These guys work for waste management and they're on the bottom rung, right? And they're just trying to get made, right? They just want to get made. And sometimes they're not even Italians that they have working for them. And they're never going to get made. But they really just want to get made. They're never going to get made. And basically, they take out the trash and they're the cleaners. There have been a ton of YouTube channels that overnight have had their content removed completely. No, you're misunderstanding. I deleted my channel. I did it myself for a very specific reason. Couple reasons. Because I am bait. That's why I did it. That's one reason. But I won't get into that, and I'm not going to say why I did, why I'm bait or who I am bait for. Oh yeah. Oh, I know. I had it in my Google Drive, and I have a couple of those. So it should have been there. Like, I have videos from 4 years ago that I'm still randomly posting just to show you guys, like, hey, I still got this one, and this is good information now. It's just starting to happen. And again, that's not me. It's not to puff myself up. This is information that has come down from the realm. Some people call it downloads. Some people call them prophecies. Other people call them, what do they call them? Channels. They're channeling information. I simply sit and listen. I just pray and I listen to what I call God gives me. Some people call it source. I call it God. It's God. So, when all this was happening, one of the tests that I was given was my aunt and uncle took me to an escape room. And I guess I was pretty good at it. And after that, things started happening. And these random people started giving me clues to things. Sadly, it took me probably longer than it should have to put these clues together because I was a little obsessed about something else that was going on in my life and falling apart at that time. But one of the clues that I was given was lava rock. Now, lava rock is the word that was used, not obsidian, lava rock. My aunt called me and said that she got hurt on lava rock. She cut her knee. And I said, oh my God, are you okay? Because I know she has problems with her knees. I said, do you want me to come up? We both played softball for years. And I said, do you want me to come up and help out for a few days? No, I'm fine. I said, well, okay, why? And I couldn't figure out why she was telling me in the way she was telling me. It's like she was, and women know this. I'm not trying to, like my spouse, I feel like he's purposely gaslighting me because he doesn't listen at all when I try to tell him all these things. A normal husband, when I would have said, hey, somebody has stolen my identity or something's going on, I'm being electronically harassed and stalked. I worked for a cell phone company. I recognize when somebody's got spyware on me. Like, I'm not a dummy. A normal spouse would have been like, and my dad was a victim of identity theft. He went to court over it, and he still had to pay the money back. So I'm like vigilant about things like that. And and my spouse took advantage of my credit more than once. So I'm very funny about that stuff. A normal spouse who loves you and considers your welfare. Yeah, gaslighting nonstop, absolutely. That's what I would like to happen, but that's not happening. um it's very hard when you have literally no one in the world. I have no family, no friends. I have nowhere to go. And if I fell off the face of the world, nobody would care. Except for Katia. Good, and a few of you guys. And Sammy. And I don't care. Like, that's not even the point. It's the principle of things for me. It really is. But anyways, the point being, a normal person who loves you would have been like, let's get to the bottom of this together. All I ever hear is, well, I'm not doing it. I didn't do that. I'm not the one. I didn't see that happen. That's all I get. It's never, let's get to the bottom of this together. Well, let's go talk to that person and see why they're following you. Well, let me see that. What happened? Yeah, that sounds pretty weird. Like, there's never any, never. That's not normal. Normal spouses don't do that. Normal people who love somebody else want that somebody else to feel safe and secure. Everything that's going on in the world right now, like, is not how things are supposed to be normal. Like, either we have collectively gone into the looking glass, or this is the Antichrist reign. And what is Antichrist other than inversion of natural law and the way things should be? I don't have any other answer. I can't. There is no other answer. Or I just never saw the world the way it truly was. And that's probably partly true. I see things the way they could be. As you see, I see the way things could be. And right now I'm seeing two very distinct roads for humans' possibility going forward. So anyway, one of the clues that was given to me was lava rock. And I'm telling you this for a reason, because it goes along with the black goo stuff we talk about all the time. So my aunt told me lava rock, and I know it's a clue. And obviously, these people know I'm monitored because they're giving me clues via telephone conversations in these covert ways. Because, again, they already know I'm good at puzzles. So they already know I'm going to pick it up. And I say, well, do you need me to come? Well, no. I don't need you to come. But lava rock, you know lava rock that they use for landscaping. And I'm like, what is she talking about? I'm like, no, I don't see it. Lava rock. Okay. So I start researching lava rock. I'm like, what is she trying to tell me? And I come up with obsidian, because I researched gemstones, and I'm like, okay, well, it removes negative energies, blah, blah, blah. And then I start getting into black goo. And you guys know, like, what a rabbit hole that deal is. Okay, so there we go with that. Well, let's follow this. What is this? An unusual, what does that say? Volcanic comet. Flying toward where? The sun. Appears to have what? Grown what? Horns. Who has horns? Who's always portrayed with horns? The devil. Who has stars? Well, if you read the Bible as an astronomy book, and if you pay attention in Greek mythology and in the Bible, certain people, certain beings, well, pretty much everybody, I believe at this point in time, is given a star. Everyone. As above, so below is true. People say, wait a second, isn't that of the occult? Well, when you say it that way with those words, yes, people associate it with the occult. But what else sounds the same as that? What do I say before every meal? What do I say at the beginning of every decade for every rosary? And Our Father. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as in heaven. As above, so below. On earth as in heaven. It is the same thing, gang. Okay? We have to get over our fear of symbols. We have to get over our arguments of words. We have to really just see the common ground here. And that's important in this time. The arguments and the debates kind of have to stop. It's very important we find our commonalities. We're going to need each other. Okay? And we have to turn our back on those who aren't willing to take accountability for their actions. I don't mean turn our back as in alienate them, isolate them, shun them, seclude them. I'm totally against shunning. I mean, what word am I looking for? We don't break bread with them, even if you're in the same household. You don't eat with them. You don't give them your company. You don't give them your time. You can still love them. You still might have a household with them. You still might pay certain bills with them. You might even still go to certain places with them. right? But if they're not willing to be accountable, you can't move forward with them. You can't really make new covenants with these people, right? We have to go forward in a new way. We have to create new ground here. So an unusual volcanic comet flying toward the sun appears to have grown horns after it exploded, causing it to what? Shine like a small star. What are they called? The shining ones. You just described my marriage to a T. It's mine too. That's how I operate right now. I cannot deal with the unaccountability anymore. This person damaged me. I am the way I am at this point in time because this person did the things they did. If I have to be accountable, and I am, and I'm more than willing to be accountable, and I have to admit to the things that I have done, that person needs to do the same. And being accountable doesn't just mean saying, yes, I did that, right? Like, that's honestly not it. It means acknowledging, oh my gosh, I did that. And so I need to make whatever change I need to make to ensure that I don't end up behaving like that in the future. But if you're not changing your behavior, that means that could happen again. And that means you're not truly acknowledging what you did. So you're not truly feeling remorse for it. And that can be dangerous for all parties involved. And that's just the truth. Oh, the Pharisees. I forgot to get back to this. The Pharisees, when they're pulling out their hair, and because they Christ is speaking truth, and they're pulling out their hair, and they're like, oh my gosh, he's blaspheming, and they can't stand it. They're literally pulling out their hair. This is what you see happen when an individual or individuals get to the point to where they are reprobate. Now, reprobate doesn't just mean, and some priests have taught it this way, reprobate, though, doesn't just mean sensual reprobate. Reprobate means you have shoved down your conscience so much to the point that you believe your own lie, right? That maybe every time you lie, or every time you steal, or every time you covet, or every time you envy, or every time you get drunk, or every time you fornicate, or every time you overindulge, glutton, every time you lust, whatever it is, whatever your sin is, whatever your vice is, every time you do it, that instead of allowing your conscience to speak up, you're suffocating it. Then you could go reprobate. We are dealing with, in our society, a bunch of reprobates, a bunch of Pharisee types who that when we speak truth to a certain point, they are dangerous to the point of violence to themselves and or to us. That is what I got for speaking truth. And it gets called, oh, well, you nag him to death. You nag. You nag. Really? Leave me alone. If you wanted to be alone, you shouldn't have gotten married. And I know it's happening. I already know. This person's throwing a fit, screaming at me, saying, leave me alone. Get away from me. I'm not even in the same room as you at this point. You're almost 2 rooms away now. And I'm not even raising my voice. You sound like the crazy person. But I know the town that I'm in. And I know that if the cops come, it will be, well, we heard him screaming, leave you alone. You must have done something wrong. No, really, he just did that to make it appear that way. Do you see what I'm getting at here? That's what truth does when somebody suffocates their conscience for so long to the point of violence. The Pharisees did not want to hear it. Their conscience can't bear it any longer, to the point where they did violence to themselves. And then to the point where They had to shut him up. They did not want to hear his truth anymore. Even if they didn't hear it from Christ, they knew they were going to hear it from someone. So they figure, we'll kill him, and it'll put the fear of God in them. They won't dare speak the truths that he has spoken. They won't dare, right? Exactly what happened to me when I tried to talk to my spouse and she put an order against, completely put me out on the street. Yeah, my spouse, like I said, my ear was pretty much torn off, and I was told that I would have to leave the house and leave my minor child in that house with my spouse while I'm the one waiting on a determination from disability because I have a back injury while I was in healthcare as an STNA. I was told I would have to leave the house. Does that sound... That's not how the law works. Not normally. That's not how the law works. I had a man screaming at me to mind my own business when he's walking on the wrong side of the road with his 2 dogs, pushing me, barking at me and my smaller dog, pushing me into the middle of the road, into the middle of traffic. He's breaking the law. Screaming at me that I don't even own my house, whatever the hell that has to do with breaking the law. These people are dangerous, and they don't seem to see that I just don't care. I know how this might turn out. It's already been shown to me. I have accepted the purpose and mission and job assignment God has given me. Come what may. Come what may. That's a great song. If you haven't heard it, ignore who sings it in the movie it's in, but the song lyrics themselves, music is food for the soul, man. That's what it is. And they know that, and they want to feed you rotten fruit, so they give you rotten music. Man, there's so much I would love to tell you all. So much God has shown me. But I don't even have the platform to do it. I don't even have a hill to sit on and talk to you guys. I mean, I do, but how would I get us all together in the same place? I even told him, put me in jail. I'd probably have more people to talk to. They won't put me in jail, and they don't want... The last place they want me is an asylum. I'll preach to people. I'll witness to people. There's a lot of demonized people in those places. I'll be delivering people left and right. They don't want me in places like that. That's the last place they want me. And I go, oh, you don't... I said, man, I'd have a roof and I'd be fed. They're constantly trying to make me afraid of police and of jail. Man, I ain't scared. I don't know why you're trying to scare me. I already know. You're going to try and frame God's children. I know that's what's going to happen. But they don't understand it's not going to fly. God is not going to have it much longer. It is not going to work out for them. And I pray, though, that you guys, the ones who hear this and understand what the plan is, God's children have got to stand up, man. No violence. Stand up and peacefully resist this garbage. You've got to stand for truth. Not because truth needs a defender, but because God's children need defenders. We are God's army while we're here. We are his hands and feet and mouth and ears and eyes. Us. Nobody else. We are the front lines. There are no others. There is no Calvary. We are the Calvary. We have to understand this. All right, so what I wanted to show you about this is that it is a comet. It's a volcanic comet. Now, what's interesting about this one, not just the fact that it grew horns, okay? Not just the fact that it's volcanic, because again, that was one of my clues. I don't like the heat that we're experiencing, and I don't like the smoke that we're allegedly getting from Canada. Katia, how's your area of Canada if you're still here? And please tell us if you are in the east or west, and if you're near the border of America, if you would please. Let us know how the wildfires are, because we're getting all kinds of news here. No smoke. Has there been smoke at all in the last couple of weeks there? Because Northeast Ohio, I did a video on it to show you guys. It was horrid the last week. I'm in Central Ontario. No. Thank you, Katia. That is valuable information. And this is what we need to be doing. We need to be sharing with each other. No smoke for the past 2 weeks. Huh. See, this is suspect. I told you guys, I don't like the way they're, and I'm surprised that they let Katia come to my channel, but we aren't as far as we can have fires now. Oh, that's awesome. Good for you. I love fires in the evening. I've had my fire pit packed for months now, but I haven't wanted to start it. I haven't even checked if we're allowed. It's been so dry. The unusual shape of the comet's coma is likely due to an irregularity in the shape of its nucleus. Okay, so we're just saying we're in that time. They're saying, or shadow became more noticeable. Okay. It has horns. It has horns. All right. Now, what else do I want you guys to say? See. It takes 71 years for the floating volcano to fully orbit the sun. Okay. The comet is due to reach its closest point to the sun on when? Hold that date in the back of your minds. April 21st, 2024. Wow. I think that's the same date that Tyler's, okay, this is going to go way back in your memory if you were with me. That goes back to Tyler's tweet about the message he received from the missing Malaysia flight about they're taking over in April, evacuate, they're not human. Remember? And I told you guys that April or May 2018 is when, for me, everybody seemed to be swapped out and changed. That we had these imposters running around. Okay. Back to the present time. Here we go. Oh, wait. 12P is not the only volcanic comet right now. They've had their eyes on another one. And I find it interesting that this other one they've been watching phonetically could sound like Watchman. Okay? Alright, I'm going to get out of here because I want to show you something else. Okay, so there's what it looks like with this little horns. Okay? But you got to check this out. I want you to... Space weather, what did I click on? Hold, please. Hold, please. Gigantic alien comet spotted heading straight for the sun. All right. Where are you? Oh, fiddle DD. Okay. So here's the other one. Spacecraft sends back stunning close-ups of Mercury during flyby. All right, check this out. This is where it gets interesting. Oh, I wanted to do that. Why do you leave so quick? When and where to see Mercury meet the Little King star this week. So this is also happening. All right. The planet Mercury, rarely if ever seen by most people, will this week rise into the post-sunset sky. Okay. Why am I looking at this? Well, do you remember a few weeks ago I said how weird it was? I never looked up the meaning of my dad's name, but his name meant king, and how I love Snow White, and I never looked up the meaning of my name, but my name meant white spirit or white wave. Love to you as well, Katia. Please be safe. Shoot me an email if you'd like, and I'm going to check out on the map how far Ontario is from me. Please watch the next upload because it's going to be about a possible meetup and solution idea regarding the next eclipse. and a solution for our current situation. So Regulus might be where my dad's name Regis comes from. Regulus, which means little king or prince in Latin, is Leo's brightest star and the 21st brightest star in the night sky. Okay, so that means little king. And it is going to be visible. Let's see. It won't be visible again in the night sky until the beginning of 2024. Isn't the eclipse supposed to happen in April? I think so, Windsor, and that's why I said to hold that date in the back of your mind's eye. Now here we get 88 again. It orbits the sun every 88 days. I did a whole series of videos on that. Again, I believe, yep, it creates an X over the United States. We did a whole series here, and again, I am pleased to report that it seems to have created a butterfly effect, and it kind of went pretty mainstream. I think we did that video here in the beginning of 2019 or the end of 2018. And actually, I also did one at the beginning of CV that they took down because I related it to, remember the little picture and image they were showing of CV? Well, I kind of related it to the eclipse and how I thought that it was trying to tell us these little buggers basically wanted to hitchhike or hide behind us as their own personal Jesuses into paradise. And they took it down. They took the video down, and it was alive, so it was permanently deleted. And that was one of the only videos that they reported. And I think that's why they did it, was because it was alive, and they knew I wouldn't be able to get it back. But I have a couple more that I can put back up. There should still be one on this channel, I believe. Oh, what else did I put up to show you guys? Okay, so then I tapped on Regulus. Okay, so this is happening this week as well. If we go to, are they going to show it? Hold, please. I just want to see. Ocean current system could shut down. Huh. I don't know if I believe all that stuff there. And we also have this meteor shower happening. There it is. Comet shaped like Millennium Falcon captured in the night sky. Okay, some are saying that. Some are calling it horns. Now, are they saying that that is... Oh, this is so weird. A lot of missing people have suddenly been found now that they're 18. That again is a red flag for trafficking. And they also don't want to see their parents. A lot of them are brainwashed into or blackmailed or threatened into saying, do not contact your family. Don't tell them what happened. We know where they live. We will hurt them. Blah, 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 blah. And on it continues for generations in certain families. Okay, let's click on that real quick. I just wanted to see. We're going to look at this again because it is in the Leo constellation. Lion has been used in scripture to describe both our enemy and Christ, which I do find interesting. We have this twin effect with Christ and Lucifer. The Mormons say that they're brothers. But again, we're all brothers and sisters. I consider Christ to be a brother in a way. I always have. I didn't need the Mormons to tell me that. But you're my brother. You're my sister. I'm your sister. That's just how I see things. I don't think God is going to send us to Hades for being incorrect about something. I don't think it works that way. We're allowed to ask questions. We're encouraged to ask questions. Okay, oh, there it is. Monitor the comet, which is currently in the constellation of Draco, the dragon. Okay, all this stuff is worth mentioning. We're going to do a whole video, I think, on just that stuff. But hold, please. April 8th, 2024. What date? What date did I tell you to hold on to? No, I forgot. April 8th, 2023? Or what were we looking at? Oh my gosh. A comet, wasn't it? The comet? 21st. April 21st. Okay. Still pretty close. Thank you guys. You guys are awesome. That is still pretty close. I want to look at something real quick here while we're here. We are definitely going to do a video about this again. This is actually going to be the next video, so I'm glad you brought it up. Possible solutions we're going to talk about. How many people would anybody be interested in talking about a meetup along this stretch? Somewhere along this stretch. We have time to talk about it, 2024. Everything, everywhere, all at once is aligning to next year, yep. I'm in. I know. I already have it in my head that certain things have to be done. I have to be at a certain place at this time, and I have to figure out how I'm going to get there because I don't drive. However, I'm in Northeast Ohio, so it's already going to go over me. I just don't know if I want to be the only believer. I don't think I want to be. You're in Tennessee? That's not too far at all. That's not far at all. Depends on what area you're in, but not far at all. You don't drive either? I don't drive either. You know what's funny is a lot of us believers don't drive, and a lot of us TIs don't drive. That's strange. I've got a car. Huh. We finally found someone who has a car. It's a Mini. I'm in Bedford, Virginia. That's not far. I love Virginia. I've been wanting to go so bad. Like, I just want to live in the mountains. I just want a shanty and a crick and you know, my grandma would always say, go wash your hands, Jennifer. My one grandma, my hillbilly grandma. Go wash your hands, Jennifer. Go wash them hands. Virginia. So that wouldn't be too far. Virginia, Ohio, and Tennessee, we're not too far apart. Right? All right, so we're going to talk about that next video, but it's going to be an upload because I want people to have a place to comment. And those listening to this, you have to. Is there a safe place for us to talk openly that anyone knows of? I don't think any place is quote-unquote safe to talk. We just have to be okay with the fact that anything we discuss is going to be open, known. And I think you guys should be, aware of the fact that we need to act as if and behave as if we are watched and listened to all of the time. All of the time. Now, I know that some of us are believers in God, so we already believe in spirits. We already believe that we are. But we have to already know that we are monitored. Now, whether it's by man or God and his angels and demons is up for a discussion, right? But we have to behave as if this is already happening all of the time. What I suggest is meeting either A, on somebody's personal property, or B, private property rather, or B, meeting on public property. You can't stop people from camping. That's why they're having issues just removing the public. You're not allowed to remove people from public property. You're not allowed to stop people from filming on public property. Public property is just that. It's owned by the public. We are the public. We pay the taxes. You can't tell us to go. You simply cannot. Just like when somebody is paying to live somewhere, there's a process. You can't just boot them. You're not allowed to do that. It just can't be, that's why I tell people, you got to know a little bit about legalities. Even if, and laws that you don't know about, that don't affect you or aren't supposed to affect you, they have to give you recourse for that too. You can't just come and say, well, you should have known about this law. Really, why should I have? You just changed it, or you're just now enforcing it upon me. Why should I have known? You know what I mean? Just like even if you don't have a lease, they still have to give you like 3, sometimes 30 days, depending on your personal situation, whether or not you're disabled, all kinds of stipulations. So it's a good idea to know the laws in your state as well. And I think that might be the best bet. Figure out which state has the best laws at that, currently, which state is most open to is open to personal sovereignty, basically. And is not going to just like start persecuting people left and right just for being alive or camping. And a campground is also a good idea. Somewhere where you pay to be. And, as long as you respect the rules or whatever, they're cool with it. But yeah, I think we can talk about that anywhere. We just have to be open to the fact that, hey, we're probably going to be listened to no matter what. And if we want to use code or anything like that, after finding out more, I prefer not to use places like Discord. I prefer not to use things like Cash App and all that. If you want to email me, you guys can email me. I will open up some type of chat through email if you would like. Or I will get us on a safer email, like Proton email. Or I will open up a group chat and we can just text each other if you want to do that. Whatever you guys are comfortable with. Me, I'm an open book. It doesn't really matter to me these days. So whatever you feel safe with. I'm going to go for now, but there's going to be more later. I'm sorry this got a little random. I've got a problem. Uh-oh. What's the matter? What's the motto? Is it a personal problem? Or with me personally? What is up? I'll wait. Oh, you've got a proton. I'm one of those people that when I make mistakes, it's usually because I'm reading too quickly. I'm sorry. I haven't used mine in forever. Chances are it might have locked me out. If you want, shoot me an email at artistlady03@gmail.com. If you're not comfortable with that, just wait till I set up a new Proton email then, because I think I haven't used it in so long. I probably forgot my password. But more later, guys. I'm gonna do a video about that, about my solution/plan. And yeah, we will. Maybe we'll just do that live. Maybe we should talk about the eclipse live. A refresher for those who weren't with the channel in the beginning, because it's a pretty deep topic. Let me know what you guys prefer. And yeah, shoot me an email. I love talking to you guys. Thanks for being here with me. And pray. The mechanic was here. Hi. I just prayed for you again the other day when I was doing my rosary. I love you. Next time, if that's cool. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm off for a few days, so I can do a live tonight or tomorrow morning, whatever. And at night, I like to read books. I'm really wanting to get to Dark Night of the Soul, so if my voice holds out and if I feel all right tonight, it's going to be a hot one. I really did want to get out and ride my bike a little today, so we'll see. Although the wheel's kind of bumming out on it, so I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm kind of debating with myself. But I love you guys. Have a great day. We'll talk soon. Stay blessed. Bye.